Well, there's nobody ever here early. So I'm just sitting here. Well, thanks for blowing up the chat, guys. Here we go. I can start a little bit early if everyone's here. Welcome back to another episode of Rest Day. And I mean, I love sitting here and talking, running, and this I love long form content, but this is probably one of the episodes I'm most excited to talk about, guys. I took notes. I made sure that I really wrote down everything that I wanted to express and all of the feelings I've had the last 2 days. I really want this to be like a one-stop shop for if you are going to do rim to rim to rim. So first off, guys, thanks for everybody that is in the chat. If you hello to everybody. If you are watching this live, please jump in the live chat. If you do have any questions throughout this whole rant of rim to rim to rim, I am looking forward to answering them. If you are listening to this on the playback on Spotify, Apple Music, wherever you listen to your podcasts, we go live every Monday, 7:45, 8 o'clock, depending on when I get my kids into bed. But today's episode is going to be totally dedicated to rim to rim to rim this past weekend. I will incorporate some of what training looked like leading into it. I will talk about how many miles I had on my legs, things like that. All right. And then also what I learned about canyons. Like, canyons is still the number one goal, which is 3 weeks away. And there were many, many lessons. All right. Many things to learn. I want to start first and foremost with this was not just my journey and it was not just my trip. And I know that I would not have been able to do it without the crew and the guys that I went with. I have no idea how people go and do this alone. I have no idea how they do that. I think my phone's on. So before I start, I need you guys to know that without Taylor, Mr. Spike, his father, who I'm not young, but I'm not old. And to see Mr. Spike out there it was just the most incredible thing I've ever seen. We got Christian out there, Bryce was out there, all of the Shaws, the Jay Shaws, Jared, JJ, Jake, and then Adam as well. It was, and I never met these guys. These were people that I met on the internet. This started with a DM conversation with Taylor after I saw him on Cam Haynes' podcast, just about sobriety and ultra running and loss and personal growth, like a little over a year ago. And then here I am. And, I have students, I teach high school, and I talk about the good and the bad of the internet. And I guess when you're feeling alone on an island, when you're an ultra runner and you don't drink and your social life is really, really small and you get the opportunity to meet people and connect with people, that's where the internet is going to be just so awesome. First, I want to talk logistics for anybody that wants to go out and try and do something like this. I flew out on Thursday. I had off for Holy Thursday and Good Friday. During the week, I ran beforehand. I ran on Tuesday, I ran 10 miles. On Monday, I ran 10 miles. Tuesday, I ran 6 miles. And Wednesday, I took off. And then Thursday, when I got there, I ran 6. So I went into this with 22 miles on my legs, no vert. I did not run any vert going into this. I flew into Phoenix early and got picked up by Christian, who actually lives in Phoenix, and Bryce, who flew down from Salt Lake City. Picked me up. We just headed right into Walmart, got the essentials. I didn't know, like, food wise, like I planned on just like eating what I brought. I brought everything with me, and I'll talk about the food situation. I had a ton of nutrition questions from Instagram, but they're like, hey, should we grab some Coca-Cola? Should we grab some Red Bulls? Should we grab some turkey sandwiches? And I'm like, yeah, like we definitely should grab all that stuff. So we did that and then headed up to the North Rim. I've been up to the Grand Canyon when I was living in Arizona, but never hiked into it, never really stopped or shopped up in there. If you're planning on doing it, we ate on Route 66 in Williams, Arizona, a great place to like stop and eat before you finish up there. We ended up staying at the Grand Canyon Inn, also in Williams, but a little bit more north than Route 66. You pretty much get off 66, you take 64 all the way up. And where we stayed, the Grand Canyon Inn, as expected, very basic, bare bones, inexpensive place. There was a gas station there that had like a market where we grabbed some water, things like that, but not really food. So I would recommend like going up there full. Like we ate and then went up that way. And that seemed to be the best thing to do. And I got out for 10K, just like a shakeout, just to get the travel. Oh, guys, I was really, really nervous. And I'll say right from jump, like meeting these guys for the first time was part of all of the nerves. And the fact that, wait, it says that I'm only live for 29 seconds. How long have I been live for? Hold on. Did I just talk for all that time and I wasn't live? Oh, no, I think we're good. Can you guys tell me, have I been talking to myself? Is everybody still here? Oh, minutes. Okay. Okay, good. Sorry about that, friends. Sorry. All right, good. All right, so like I said, meeting the guys, they made me feel like really, really good about it. They really did. And the 10K was nice. We got up, I guess we went to bed like maybe like 10:30 in the evening, which for me was, I was a little jet lagged. So it was early for me, but I got to bed and I slept really, really well. We set the alarms for 4 o'clock, which for me was 7 a.m. So the jet lag kind of like helped in my favor. And we had to drive another 30 minutes north to the North Kaibab Trailhead. When you go, you could take Bright Angel, you could take Kaibab. We took that because it was steeper and shorter. And we also picked the time of starting at 5:30 because we wanted the sun kind of coming up. We didn't really want to start too much in the darkness. And also it was cold. It was 40 degrees, I want to say, and it was blowing. It really was. It was gusty. It only costs like $35 to get in the park, and we were able to park very, very easily that early in the morning. So that's pretty much like the logistics of how I got there. And I really wouldn't change it. If I went back, I'm never going back. If I went back, I would probably do the exact same thing. You know, I had barbecue the night before, a little bit of salt, but high in fat, but my stomach was good. I eat so much carbs anyway that it was nice to get into Williams and just have that and not have to worry about it. As far as gear, I wore my Hoka Challengers. They have been my bread and butter. And they probably just work for me. They may not work for anybody else. So I wore the Challengers, and that's also what I'm going to be wearing in the 100. And I also confirmed that. Like I didn't have many questions about if I was going to wear the Challengers in the 100 miler, but I know now. I will be wearing the Challengers in the 100 miler, and I'm probably going to be buying a new pair because I quote just got a new pair, but I've already put like 120 something miles on them in 2 weeks or so. So I'm probably going to get another pair. Spandex shorts. I'm not a pants guy. Even with it being cold, I knew it was going to get warm, and it's easier for me to throw layers on top, but I didn't want to have to worry about shorts and stuff. And my legs really don't get quote cold per se. Spandex shorts. I started with a compression short sleeve base layer, a long sleeve tech shirt, a long sleeve fleece, my Patagonia Houdini windbreaker, a buff, gloves, hat, my Salomon 12-liter vest packed out. I'll tell you everything that was in that. My brand new Black Diamond carbon Z-poles. They were great. I beat the crap out of them already, but they were really, really, they were awesome. I had my Phoenix HMRT headlamp, which I needed it. I had my GoPro, my Insta360. I had 500 milliliter, so half-liter soft flasks, my anti-chafe, my chapstick, 2 turkey and cheese sandwiches in Ziploc bags, 18 awesome sauces, 18 waffles, and my electrolyte pills. That's everything that I had on me. in all of the videos that I've seen about rim to rim, because God knows I watched every single one on YouTube, I was always curious what people's fitness was coming in, because the doubt of fitness going in was a major concern of mine. And really, I had not seen any videos on YouTube where the people finished and they were like in high spirits. It seemed to me that every video I watched about rim to rim to rim, the people got destroyed. And I was always like, did they get destroyed because they're not fit? They're not trained? They underestimated it? Like, what's the deal with that? So I at least want to tell you before I start the story of where my fitness is. I have 800 miles on the year going into it. Now I have 850, but I had 800 miles on the year going into it. I averaged between 68 and 70 miles per week with about 10,000 feet of vert. And I am 3 weeks out from the 100 miler. So I am getting between 5 and 6 hour long runs pretty much every single week. Some of the guys I was with had more than that. I mean, Taylor Spike is an effing animal. Some guys had a little less than that, and their goals were, adjusted accordingly to that. And I personally would not go back with any less fitness than I had today. If I had any less fitness, I wouldn't go, especially the vert side. I think if you are going to attempt to do this, you should treat it like a 100 miler. That's just in my opinion. If you live in like a mountainous place, like some of the guys I was with, they live in Salt Lake. They did much better on less training than I have because they're used to the elevation a little bit more, because elevation was definitely a factor coming up out of the river twice. I definitely felt it as I went a little bit higher in elevation. The North Rim is at 8,000 feet. So I personally, like I said, if I ever go back, I'm never going back. I will make sure that I will have equal amounts of fitness. Anybody in the chat have any questions now before I start the actual trip? And there will be a video, but I kind of wanted to make this video about like the logistics and how to. And in that video, I'm not going to talk that much. I took a ton of like B-roll footage. It really will just be about the experience and the views and things like that. So if you have any questions, like I'm probably going to link this in that video of like all the things. I'm going back. You guys are no autographs for this guy. Patreon, OnlyFans, you guys are great. Oh, thank you. All right. We'll get to some. All right. I'll answer some of these now. Some of these I was going to answer, but since you asked them now, in case you got to go, did I poop in the canyons or in the canyon? I will say, and actually maybe I didn't really put this in my notes. The bathroom situation was much higher than I anticipated as far as satisfaction. I generally am like a nervous pooper, I guess you call it. I don't know what you call it, but race morning, I tend to be in the bathroom a bunch. I was good. And at the North Rim, they were all like compost toilets. So if you've never been to like a national park or something like that, it's pretty much a really, really big hole in the ground, and it's all composted out, and it doesn't stink. It's fantastic. And I don't know if it was because it was off season, but I did use the restroom for number 2 a couple times throughout the day, and I never sat on a dirty seat and I never had to wait. There would eat about every 5 to 8 miles. There was like 4 toilets, right? Not water. Water wasn't every 4 to 8 miles. We'll talk about that. But I never had an issue where I thought I had to get off trail and use the bathroom. So the answer to your question, Corey, is yes, I did poop in the canyon, but it was in a toilet every single time. And like I said, 8 out of 10 would do it again, as far as the accommodations were concerned. Derek, what's up, buddy? Late Bloomer says, never say never. I know. Like, if you guys saw the reel, All right. Thought it cut me off there it kicked me out, but here I am. I'm back. Well, lots of logistic things here for a second. My bad. It kicked me off, but I'm back. If you saw the reel I did when I got back to the car, I said I was never going to come back. And I haven't changed my mind yet. Derek, the nutrition part, I'm going to talk to that, and I'm gonna talk about that. Yeah, I'm sorry about that, guys. It kicked me off, but then it let me right back in. So I'm back. But Derek, I definitely will get to nutrition because that's going to be a major portion of like the notes that I took. So I don't want to like just breeze over it real quick. So the first section is the South Rim all the way down to Phantom Ranch, which is at the Colorado River. There's a campsite there. It's where Bright Angel and South Kaibab come together. And we knew that there was water there. That's where they have like the lemonade, and like you watch the videos, and that's like a big spot where everybody comes. It's about 7.5 miles in. It took us 2 hours and 20 minutes to get down there. We took it nice and easy. We hit a lot of bathrooms. A lot of people in the morning wanted to hit the bathrooms. We took a ton of pictures, which slowed us down a lot. But now in hindsight, looking at all the videos and things like that, pictures were well worth it. I did have like weird things happen with the body early, like a tight calf, which never happens. My hip flexor was a little bit like getting a little tight. It's not like a trail. It is a path to the bottom. And with all the divots from the mules and like railroad tie steps that are unequally spaced, and some steps are huge and some steps are little, and then there's these big old rocks in the middle. Like you can't, even if I didn't want to take pictures, I couldn't run it. It was too steep and too weird of terrain for me to run. Now I could probably get down faster than 2 hours and 30 minutes. I probably could have done it in 90 minutes if I was moving, but I think in hindsight now, not blowing up my quads, trying to go fast in the beginning was probably for the best, because I've talked to people that have tried to go down way too fast. And I'm kind of glad that we didn't do that. And it's pretty much 4,000 feet down for 6 miles or so, maybe 5,000 feet down for 6 miles or so. So it was nice. It was the first place we got water. I only carried a liter down because we knew for a fact that there was going to be water there. So with it being so cold, I only carried a liter down. And this was also a place where I got to strip a bunch of layers. It went from 30 and blowing to 75, 80 at the river. So in that 2 hours, it warmed up 50 degrees, 40 to 50 degrees, which was really the biggest mind mess of this whole thing. Like the temperature swings and the fact that my pack was more bulky than heavy, because I literally had so many different layers that I had to strip on, strip off. And like, that's it. Brian, what's up, buddy? I'm at mile 7, just at mile 7. I know, what the hell have I been talking about this time? I'm just at mile 7. So we got down there and we all kind of regrouped as a big unit of all of us. And Taylor, who's kind of like in charge, was like, guys, we had a grand old time coming down here, but right now we're on a pace for like 23, 24 hours at this pace. Like, for those of us that really want to make this happen, we need to move. And you could see kind of like the look in my face and like 2 other guys that really wanted to get this done. Me, especially, because it was a training day for me. I wasn't trying to be out there for that long. So that was the first time like the group kind of like started to fracture a little bit. And I didn't know who came with us off the front right there, but I thought it was more than 2 or 3 of us. And from Phantom Ranch, the next kind of like checkpoint that we needed to make was going from Phantom Ranch at 7.5 miles to Cottonwood Campground. And Cottonwood Campground is another like 9 miles away. So that would get us to like 15 miles on the day. But leaving Phantom Ranch, we were unsure about water. We weren't sure if there was going to be any water. you go on the website and they update you like there might be water here, there may be, but then you just keep getting conflicting stories. It's a government website. Who knows how often they update it? There's a lot of construction going down there. They're redoing a lot of the water pipes and things like that. So it was very unsure, but we knew that we had the creek. But I'd never really drank out of a natural water source before. So I was a little sketched out. So I filled up all 2.5 liters that I had for that trip to Cottonwood. It was warm, but breezy. So not too hot. I did start to break a little bit of a sweat. It wasn't too hot, but it was mostly in the shade, some exposed spots, very runnable. During that 9 miles, we averaged like maybe 12 minutes per mile. And that's like we were moving at a good pace, but it was still early in the day. So nobody was like trying to get blown out. And turned out it was me, Taylor, Adam, and Jared. We were kind of the ones that were committed to really getting this thing done. And we got to some hikers that were coming back towards us and we said, "Hey, is there water at Cottonwood?" And they were like, "No." And then we're like, "Okay, so we're going to be drinking out of the creek." And he's like, but when I came down yesterday, there was water at Manzanita, which is 1.5 miles further. So we're like, okay, we had water, assuming it was at Cottonwood, to know that we only had to go 1 mile further. And I had 2.5 liters on me. I was like, okay, that's great. That was like such a nice relief for me. So we cruised in. Like I said, we made a pretty good time. And me and Adam, we spoke for, oh man, it was so nice to get to know this guy. I didn't know anybody. And we were kind of doing rough math in our heads. Like, are we really going to be out here for 23, 24 hours? Like that just seems aggressive. And when we got to Manzanita, which is pretty much the base of where it really starts to kick up, Phantom Ranch is technically where you start to climb the North Rim. But like I said, it's rolling and kind of like a false flat till you get to Manzanita. And that's when it really like kicks up. And we're like, all right, if we do 2 miles per hour, right, it's going to take us 3 hours to get up the North Rim. If it does that again, it's going to take us 3 hours to get back down. We'll be back here in 6 hours. And at that point, I think that would have got us to like the 11 hour mark. And we're like, all right, if we get back here in 11 hours, we're not going to be out here for 24 hours. And my wife isn't going to kill me. And that's exactly kind of the pace that we held. When we filled up water at Manzanita, once again, I didn't fill up all 5. I had drank 2, so I kept 2 on me, knowing that I just had to go up the North Rim and then come back down. I knew it was going to get cooler as we went on. I threw on some more layers because I knew there was like 3 feet of snow on the North Rim. And we had heard from hikers coming down from the North Rim and from other rim to rimmers that started earlier in the day than I was coming down, that about the last 1.5 miles, there was going to be snow. So I wasn't too concerned with water. And yeah, I brought that. Leaving Manzanita, like up to the North Rim, vibes were high. You'll see in the video, my vibes were high all day. I felt so good all day. I was eating an awesome sauce every 30 minutes. I have a watch that beeps. You guys know this. And then I was eating a Stinger waffle on the top of the hour every single hour. And I did not miss. For the first 10 hours, I did not miss a half-hour interval. My watch would beep. Awesome sauce. Eat, waffle. Back and forth and back and forth. My stomach maybe growled a little hungry like one time in the first 10 hours. And that's how I had like a turkey sandwich in the back. I just took like a bite of real food just to satiate that hunger. And I was fine. We got up to the North Rim. It was awesome. There was snow. We got service. So I got to call my wife and break down and cry for the first time in the day. And it just felt good to know. We got there in like 7 hours and 15 minutes. And I was like, even if we go 10 hours back, we're still out of here in 17 hours. 20 was like, I brought food for 19 hours. So 20 hours was kind of like where I knew things would really, really start to get weird. So getting there at 7 hours and 20 minutes, so I was very, very happy with that. So me, Taylor, Adam, Jared, still, we were pretty much together. That was pretty much it for the rest of the day. We head down to Manzanita and came into Manzanita just back from the North Rim. I could not, my vibes, I was just feeling so good. There was other guys there filling up water bottles. We had great conversations. but I made the first mistake of the day. And here's where things take a little bit of a turn. I had different flavor electrolytes with me, and all my electrolytes at home are in like a tub, and I scoop them out. But every once in a while, I have also, I don't want to say the company because it's not on them, but I have like a single serving electrolyte packet. And it's got a very nice like mango peach flavor. And every once in a while, when I just want something other than water, I drink that at home. I love it. It's refreshing. It tastes so good. I love peach, all the peaches. So I filled up my bottles with that as kind of a treat to myself. Like, oh, we're down the North Rim. My quads haven't blown up. I've done both the downhills. Like, that was one big fear. Like, what happens when my quads blow up? I'm like, I'm going to reward myself with this peach mango. And I filled up all my bottles. I'm like, this is going to be so delicious. I got a 10-mile trip back to Phantom Ranch. Vibes are high. Temperature's great. I'm not injured. I feel incredible. So I did that and took off. But now I've never ran with that electrolyte before. I always like have it as a treat at home. And what's rule number one, guys? Don't do anything new on race day. And I probably would have made the same mistake at Canyon, so I'm glad that I didn't. But 2 miles in, my stomach started to turn. And it started with like really bad gas, like really, really bad gas and bloating. And the taste of it was not agreeing with me. It was making my mouth feel chalky. My mouth all of a sudden was not getting refreshed when I took a sip. And that was the first time I was like, oh, this isn't cool. And the other idiot thing I did is I put it in every single one of my bottles, every one. And I also know from past races and stuff, like palate fatigue is real. Like, always keep regular water on you. But like, I got cocky and I was like, I feel so good. Nothing is going to stop me today. So I couldn't even like say, all right, I'm going to ditch this and I'll live on water. And all I had was this, and every sip was just like, oh my God, it's just hurting me bad. And I had 10 miles and I was running. I was jogging. You'll see in the video at a marathon, I was running. At 50K, I was running. Granted, it was like 12, 13-minute pace, but I felt good. But it just, by the time I got back to Phantom Ranch, the GI issues were real. And I was starting to get to the point where it was becoming a struggle to pull my waffles and awesome sauce out of my pack. Not because I didn't want to eat, but because of how badly my stomach hurt. Like, I've never got like stomach cramps in a way, and I wasn't nauseous, and I didn't have a lack of appetite. I wasn't hungry, but like, I really just I wanted the gas to go away, and I just didn't want to eat. And when Jared Taylor and Adam, when we all got to Phantom Ranch that last time, like I had a good stretch. Like I said, vibes were still high. No low points emotionally yet. Done. None of that. I pretty much said to them, like, guys, you guys are better climbers than me. Like, I'm gonna take off. Like, I can't stay here right now, because the more I stood there and we were filling up waters and shooting the shit a little bit, like, it just kept messing with my mind. I was like, I have to get back to moving. Because when I was standing there, I was like, my stomach, oh my gosh. And then you start to think about, I was starting to get in my own head. And there's one thing, like, you never ever voice low points. You never say them out loud. They live in your head and you can think them, but you never say them. And what I was thinking was, I know that it is a steep climb out of here, and it is going to take me 4.5 hours on a good set of legs. And it's going to take me up to 6 hours, 1 mile per hour, if this feeling keeps coming. And also, darkness was like all of these things going through my head. I was like, guys, I got to go. So I started off, and the Adam and Taylor passed me soon. And this is me cursing in the video. You hear me cursing at somebody. Because we were all like together the whole day and we were equally feeling good. But man, Adam found another gear, dude. And he just like, you know what, Brad? I think I'm going to try running, see what I got. And like, this wasn't at the end. This was like a mile into a 6-mile climb. The other day, he's like, I'm going to try running, 25% incline. I'm going to try. I'm like, dude, you go. And I'm like, maybe he'll run from a little bit and like realized that his heart rate's coming up. Nope. Never saw the dude again. Him and Taylor just like took off like a mountain goats. And it wasn't demoralizing. It was more inspiring, but I was more like, wow, like how the hell did those guys really just do that? And by then I knew it was me and then Jared behind me, and those two guys were gone. And I knew from early in the day there was two other guys not in our group that were a little bit ahead of us. I caught them at mile 2, and they were sitting down, just taking a break, and I was not feeling good. But I tried to pass them because, like at races, when you go into an aid station, you always say hello to people. You always like go in smiling because it makes your race better. So when I passed these guys, I passed them like I was doing great, never voiced pain. So I'm like, hey guys, doing great. Oh, we're having such a good day. Almost at the top. Only 4 more miles to go. Thinking to myself, oh my God, 4 more miles to go. Like this is going to be ridiculous. And I was at that point that I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to eat. And right at the 2-mile mark, my alarm went off to eat, and I did not want to pull this waffle out. There's the last thing I wanted to do. And I knew that I had to try. I pulled it out. I'm like, I'm going to eat this thing. I need to eat this thing. I got 3 hours left. I need to eat this thing. I took one bite. Nope. 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 The body said, you are not allowed to eat for the rest of the day. And that was I wasn't hungry, which was good. Right? Like I was eating because I knew I had to, not because I was hungry, which is good. And I just knew that I had 3 more hours and I wasn't going to be able to eat. And I dumped out all that other drink. I had water in there, but it like tainted my bottles. That's all I tasted was peach. So I'm taking bird sips like this. And I couldn't take any more sips by 3 miles. And you heard me say in the video, guys, I haven't eaten or drank in 2 hours. It was true. I couldn't do it. I wanted to throw up so bad. At this time, the GI distress had turned into nausea. And I wanted to throw up so bad. I tried everything I could. And it's kind of funny. When I was a drinker, I used to throw up all the time. Pretty much whenever I wanted. And probably since I've been sober, I probably haven't thrown up. And that's all I wanted. Because I knew if I did, I would feel so much better. I couldn't. I tried pulling the trigger. I tried jogging really fast to get my heart rate up to make myself even more nauseous. I tried just drinking, but I just wouldn't swallow. I couldn't throw up. So I lived in this nausea cave for 3 hours. And I just, yeah, that's when the negative self, that's when the dark place really, really started. That's really, and then the sun went down, which in hindsight, I was wearing a t-shirt that Jacob Mooney got me that reminds me not to be a bitch in the night. And it helped. It really did. Having that shirt on, I couldn't see it, but I knew I had it on. But it also helped because it probably would have been worse if I could see the top of the canyon. Like, I knew how much mileage was left because I had it on my watch. But if I had to look up and see how high I had to go, that would have probably messed with me. And oh my gosh, the stars also saved me. I've never seen stars look like headlights before. Orion's belt, I turned my headlamp off a couple times just to like see the stars because as a city guy, I've never seen stuff like this. I turned off Orion's belt was so bright that it looked like a belt. Like for me, it's like 3 little faint little dots in the sky. It was shining so bright. But it was crazy too because it showed you where the canyon was a little bit because you'd look up and you'd be like, is that a headlamp or is that a star? And then you look over there and you'd be like, is that a headlamp or is that a star? And then if you really focused on it, you could see where the stars kind of ended and then it got to darkness. And you're like, all right, I have to go up there. But if I had to keep looking up at the wall, that probably would have been worse because I've gotten very, very good and a lot mentally stronger at just put your feet in front of one another. Just put your foot in front of one another. Just put your foot in front of one another. And the only thing that really stressed me out, and the thing that when I say I'm never going to go back, it wasn't the physical effort. It's the same reason I'm never going to skydive again. Like I'm not being dramatic. I've never like contemplated whether I was scared for my life or not in anything I've ever done. Now, in this moment, I was not scared for my life, but I thought about it. I thought if this goes a little bit worse, I might be. There was one point where I tightened my headlamp so tight, the boa, click, 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 because I legitimately thought to myself, if I get blown off this cliff, my headlamp's going to fall off as I fall to my death, and they're going to find my headlamp and not find me. So I tightened it as tight as I could get it so that if I fell off the cliff, they would find me. That's where my brain started to go. I just kept walking. The next major hurdle that I had to take was putting layers on. It got cold again, 30 degrees and blowing. They got 2 feet of snow after we finished. It was cold. So I taken my pack off, and like I said, physically, guys, awesome. No cramping, no tweaks, no knee pains, no ankle pains, no blisters, no nothing. It was just my fucking stomach, man. My stomach, it just went. I've done Ironmans. It never went. I just wanted to throw up so badly. I would have been a whole new world if I could have just, yeah. But I got my layers on. I got my headlamp on, and I passed Mr. Spike, Taylor's dad, and this was also in that video. I was feeling like a little bitch for myself, and then I passed Greg. He was just in such amazing spirits, and he was going so slow, and he was just gave words of encouragement and positivity, just like the legend that he is, and just gave me a little bit of push to just one foot in front of the other, because there were times where I'd feel like I was walking for 15 minutes. And I'd look down at my watch and it would change like 0.05 miles. My foot couldn't go less distance per step than it was going because it was going up, but not forward. Like I felt like I was just on a stair climb or just not moving any distance further. And there is a glorious, glorious sign 3.5 miles up. And it says South Rim 3.5 miles. And on my watch, I had guessed 4 miles left. So when I saw that sign, and I was like, I got a half mile less. That was 20 minutes at that point with how slow I was walking. A half mile is 20 minutes different. I'm like, I could do that. But then I was like, I'm not going to be tricked. That sign could be wrong. I'm sticking with the 4 miles. And I stuck with that. It's going to be 4 miles. And guys, I literally counted down the tenths of a mile. And I said to myself, all right, I got 3.2. I got 3.1. I got 3. I got 2.9. 2 miles to go was glorious because when I do my long runs now, 2 miles is like when I say I'm done. Like I could do anything for 2 miles. And wow, I found out I can do anything for 2 miles. And 1 mile to go, I was like, oh, that's when I started to get emotional. I was like, I'm going to knock this out. I'm going to get it done. And it wasn't 3.5 miles. It was 3.2. I took a step and I was not on dirt. I was on a sidewalk. And I thought to myself, this must be a mirage. I said, this is my first ultra hallucination. I think I'm on a sidewalk, but I'm really not. And I took another step forward. And sure enough, I was on the sidewalk and I'd done it. And got up in 4.5 hours. So like I said, still moved. I went like 25 minutes per mile for that last 4,000 feet. I just did it with a lot of nausea and a lot of pain in my stomach. Fitness, like I said, physically, I kept moving, but it was just the worst moving ever. Like oh God, I can't say it enough. I just really, really wanted to throw up. The moving time, 15 hours, 3 minutes. The elapsed time, 15:50, which I believe is 22 minutes per mile pace. After that, I had the best Coca-Cola I've ever drank in my whole life. If you saw that reel, Christian had a Coke for me. I think he had 3 of them for me. We got 43.31 miles in, 11,719 feet. Everyone's watch had a different elevation, but that sounds about right. I had 124 beats per minute for the heart rate and a max of 159. That 159 happened after we first left Phantom Ranch, and like when Taylor said we're going too slow, and we really tried to pick it up. In hindsight, like what happened to my stomach, I know what happened. I drank that flavor that I shouldn't have drank. It turns out that flavor also only had 100 milligrams of sodium. It had all the other like things that are called electrolytes, but no sodium. And I also realized I did not drink enough water. In hindsight, when I say it to myself, I can't believe how little water I drank. Up until the 10 hours when my stomach turned, I drank 5 liters or less. And when I say or less, when my bottles were empty, they weren't like bone dry empty. So I think it's safe to assume 4.5 liters for the first 10 hours. And half of that was in the valley at 75, 80 degrees. Coming out of winter, I'm just so used to going on 10, 15 mile runs with no water. I kind of drank the same. And I drank a little bit here and there, but I should have been drinking. I was sipping when I should have been drinking. And that lack of water led to a lack of electrolytes, which ultimately turned my stomach. The imbalance of electrolytes. I had less than 500 milligrams of sodium per hour per liter for the first 10 hours, where I'm a salty sweater. I'm the guy whose whole shirt is covered in salt. It's in my hat. My face feels like sandpaper. When I rinse my face, it tastes like the ocean. I should be north of 1,200 milligrams of sodium per liter per hour, at least. And I was down in the 500s. So I felt good for so long because I was eating food, and that was great. But just slowly over time, my electrolytes were depleting. And I had a little bit, so they didn't deplete to zero quick. Just took a little bit of time, I think that even if I wouldn't have changed that flavor, my stomach still would have went bad. I think that the flavor was, I think the flavor was just something that just exacerbated the situation and just made it just a lot worse. I have a call with Coach. We're going to talk about this. There's a big thing I learned. I learned about the value of electrolytes. Food was on point. Wouldn't change anything. I'm not changing anything about that with Canyons. If anything, I'm going to add more food. I would have never taken sandwiches with me. It's not my style, but everyone was doing it. So I did it and I ate them and it made me feel good when I had a little bit of bite of turkey sandwich. So if anything, I will rely on regular food more in Canyons than I was planning to. Not because I needed to, but because it made me feel good. But the electrolytes, okay. The darkness, I had one of the best confidence through the dark as possible. I wouldn't have been in a low like I've been in the Backyard Ultra like I was in Grindstone. I wasn't in that night low like I was then. They said the only low was how bad my stomach hurt. I also got myself caught up thinking at the end, which was a little discouraging. Before I finished, I'm thinking to myself, in 3 weeks, I have to do 60K more. No, 100K more, 60 miles more. I got to climb 7,000 more feet, and I have to do it faster than this or I won't make the cutoff. Coach walked me off that ledge right away because I told him, dude, what am I going to do? And he's like, well, you're going to be tapered for one. You're not going to screw up nutrition. The path is going to be runnable. Nothing in the Grand Canyon is runnable. There's some joggable spots. How Jim Walmsley did that in 6 hours, he had to have taken a helicopter. I'm not calling him a liar, but that is unthinkable. I knew it was fast, but until you do it or until you go there, that is unthinkable speed. Uneffing thinkable speed. No, like I had to go back and re-Google it. Like unthinkable fast. For canyons, I'm going to try and go up to at least 1.5 liters per hour and get myself at least 1,500 to 2,000. I think that's going to be it. Like how I felt physically after I got some food in me and recovered, I was recovered in 20 minutes. Like that was a huge confidence booster for canyons. The fact that I could have ran the next day and then last night I ran 5 at 8:30 pace, no problems. The fact that I don't have any blisters, the fact that I don't have any chafing, the fact that I don't have any lingering ligament knee pains, like physically I'm ready. This was a great effing training day. It really was. I'm still never going back. But like I said, I'm never going back because I never want to be like scared like that again. There's no way out. There's no rescue. It's not like a 100 where I can DNF or I can get to an aid station and be like, nah, or catch a ride or call a cop for help. There was no service. There was no nothing. The only way out, your only rescue is you. Like whether you're crawling through mule pee and poop, like the only way, that was the scary, the only way out was up. I was like, I guess I could like lay here and nap for 2 hours in the 35-degree wind and try and like get some energy back. But like, that was the scariest. Not the dark, not the cliffs, not the headlamps. The scariest thing was how the hell am I going to get out of here if ish gets bad? And then thank God I was so naive and ignorant going into it. Like I thought about now in hindsight, if I did blow a quad on the way down the North Rim or rolled an ankle down coming down the North Rim, like capital F'd. Multiple days to get out. If you're going to do it, make sure you know where water is. I know that Manzanita was going to close their water today for a week for maintenance. So everybody that heard the stories of us getting water at Manzanita that was going today, they didn't get any water. So just really, there's a great Facebook group, a Rim to Rim to Rim Facebook group that's so active. If you're going to do it, get on there and definitely talk to them. We'll talk, Derek. Yeah, the new poles were amazing. I mentioned that earlier. Yeah, the new poles, I loved them. I love my old poles, but these poles worked out awesome. They were incredibly light, very durable. They handled the rocks. They were a lifesaver in the snow on the North Rim. The new poles were awesome. Yeah, the Ragnar, we actually talked about that. But so the name of our group chat was Rim to Rim to Rim, obviously. I'm about to rename it. I think we have our next adventure. But I'm not going to announce that until after canyons. I can only focus on one thing, but it's going to be in the Northeast. It's going to be a really, really, really big hike in the Northeast. I will announce it after canyons. It'll be a part of this podcast moving forward. Somebody asked on Instagram. I have a bunch of questions that people ask on Instagram that I definitely want to know. Would definitely want to answer. And if you have questions, please, please, please put them in the chat right now. And let me just get to this thing and I'll look at all the questions that people asked. All right. So somebody asked, how are the poles? Yeah, the poles were awesome. Would Rim to Rim have been enough for your first time to enjoy all the views or go big, go home? I'll tell you this, the 7 other guys that didn't go Rim to Rim to Rim, I think they had a great time. I really do. I think they had a great time. Some guys went down to the river and back. Some guys went to Manzanita and back. And then some of us went all the way. They had a great time. I had a goal in mind that I signed a contract with myself that I wanted to do it. So I did. I think that just going Rim to Rim would be awesome. But here's the thing. The North Rim is closed currently. No cars in. So you can't get picked up there. You'd have to hike miles down the service road and get out. So maybe in the summer, the weather we had was perfect for this. It was overcast for most of the day, like 5 degrees hotter. I'm not doing it into April. This is a hard cutoff for me. This is as warm as I want it. I can handle the cold. I can put layers on. But if you're down there and you're just sweating profusely, like you can always put layers on. In this situation, I would like April 1st is probably going to be my cutoff. So there's that. So like, yeah, in the summer, the North Rim's open. You could do Rim to Rim. Hot. Probably wouldn't do it. views, you're going to get all the views. But I will say this, because the sun is constantly moving across the sky, the views change constantly. The reflection of light off of different walls, every time you look up, even if it's at the same wall, it looks different. So coming back, and also too, when you're going to the North Rim, you got your back, you turn around, you look sometimes, you look back. But when I was coming back, I was like, oh my, it's like I didn't even see it, even though I was on the same path out and back. So go big or go home, man. I think if I just would have done rim to rim, I don't know. I would have wanted more. I will consider one day going and doing like going down to the river to the North Rim and then camping at Cottonwood and then doing the South Rim again. Or if I do it again, I'm going to start earlier and really ensure that I'm getting out of there during the day. Yeah. But yeah, I think it'd be all right. What worked, what didn't work nutrition wise. Like I said, I screwed up water and electrolytes. I paid the price for it. I'm glad I learned it now. How'd you handle the heat? Like I said, it was warm. I never felt hot. I never ever felt hot. I maybe one time during the day I felt like sweat coming down my face, but it was warm but breeze. Like I say in the video, it was warm. I wouldn't call it hot. I never felt hot. So yeah. Was this planned as a stepping stone to canyons? Yes, absolutely. This trip was designed as a training run for something very, very hard. I know my weaknesses, and my weaknesses are like emotional and mental things, long and self-doubt. I needed the confidence to know that I could do something ridiculously hard, even if it was shorter. I will say with 100% confidence, this was harder than the 100K I did. This was harder than Grindstone, no questions asked. And I hope it's harder than Canyons. I really do. And I don't think I'll ever do a 100 again without doing something epic like this before. Because although it was hard, my confidence is booming. Like I said in my reel last night, I feel like I can run through a wall right now. I feel so good. And that I felt real good last week. And that feel real good was a level of cockiness, which led me to drink something new. So I got knocked down a peg. So I'm right where I need to be. I avoided that arrogance and that cockiness. This humbled me and it made me a lot more prepared. And I just mentioned that I got another big thing planned for early fall that I'm going to do. That is going to be this for Javelina 100. So I'm going to enjoy my summer. I'm going to pace crazy mountains. I'm going to go out to Bigfoot. And then in September, I'm going to do something awesome here in the Northeast, which is going to be really, really, really hard. And that's going to be my 3-week out from Javelina. And this was under the recommendation of Taylor Spike. He's like, when I first told him I signed up for Canyons, he's like, dude, get out here. He's like, you want to feel what 10,000 feet feels like in a day? You want to feel what a death march feels like? You want to feel pain? You want to feel the highs and lows of a day? Rim to rim to rim in the Grand Canyon will humble you and expose you like no other. And yeah, that's awesome. Thanks, Ultra Corey, man. I can't wait for you to crush too, man. You got to first. I can't wait for you to crush. I love following these guys on Instagram and just we're really all cheering for yourself. And I mean this from the bottom of my heart, Corey. I can't wait for you to crush that race. What's your daily diet consist of? What's a typical week of eating? I eat a lot. I just eat. I try and eat as clean as I can and as much as I can. I used to be vegan. I am not plant-based anymore. For a number of reasons, which don't need to be discussed in this episode. But I used to also be a really, really big intermittent faster. I couldn't eat enough in my window. So that has also gone down. I wasn't keeping weight on. I got ridiculously low. I got into like maybe even the 150s, high 150s. I'm 175 right now, and I've been 170 to 175 now for probably 2 months. By shortening that intermittent fasting window, I eat in the morning, I'm like a cereal guy, and in the weekends, I'll have some protein, a lot of carbs. I'm from New York. I can crush a bagel with the best of them. And then usually I'm just trying to eat protein shakes during the day to get good calories and get the protein I need. And then I just whatever my wife makes incredible dinners. Tonight we had Brussels sprouts, chicken breast, sweet potato, home fries, like all made from scratch. So yeah, I probably eat about 4,000 to 5,000 calories a day, I would say on average. And then on Fridays, I crush pizza because Fridays are for crushing pizza. Did I carb load for this? No. I did not change anything about my diet going in. I think it's really, really important not to overthink things. And I've learned this through Ironman and through racing that as much as you can keep routine, the better. So I knew going in that I was just going to, wherever we ate, I was going to be able to find something clean or something that agreed with me, and I would crush it. And I would just get a lot of calories in. We had barbecue. I got the sampler plate. It was huge. Bryce said, "You're going to eat all that?" And I said, "You bet your ass I am." I crushed pulled porks. I crushed beef ribs. I took down 3 slices of cornbread. Like brisket was just gone, eviscerated, not even on the plate. It didn't even, coleslaw, see you later. Crushed it. I know, with that said, I know it upsets my stomach. And yeah, no, I didn't carb load. But I also, I'm for a coach that's very low carb, I have a very high carb diet. We talk about it a lot. But no, I always just try and eat clean and eat as much as I can. And I keep things simple and routine. And I hope the same goes for canyons. I don't want to be in a position where I'm like, we got to find an Italian joint. Oh my God, am I going to get pasta? Where's pizza? I just want to be able to walk in and be like, hey, if you have food and it's made clean, just give me as much of it as you can, and I'll just eat as much of it as I can. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at as far as like carb loading and things like that. And that's also a big difference between, I think, the marathon and ultra. For the marathon, I'm more focused on like carbs and stuff because it was high intensity where carbs are really going to be your friend. And I think there's definitely race performance food for shorter distances where, and maybe I'll get bullied for saying this, but like in the ultra world, it's an eating contest and calories are your friend. Like Taylor ate sugar cookies that he got at the gas station and some Tailwind in a bottle. Like he posted on his Instagram yesterday, don't overthink things, with a package of sugar cookies. Like just sugar cookies, frosted on top. That's what he ate all day, and Tailwind. And he's like, why? He's like, if I get used to eating sugar cookies, I can find sugar cookies anywhere. On a through hike, on the AT, on a race, and 100 at an aid station. Right at an aid station, you start eating stuff you've never eaten before. You're eating quesadillas, you're eating gummy worms, you're eating chips. Why is it okay at aid stations? Like, just keep it simple. Just keep it simple. I don't know if I'm ready to do rim to rim to rim on sugar cookies. But yeah, no, Derek, I just tried to just keep it as simple as I can. There were people talking earlier about supporting the podcast, guys. Spotify, because I have a lot of listeners, I guess. They allowed for like support through Spotify. I think it's $1 a month. If you really like the content, cover prices of like the streaming, you can do that. And on YouTube, still waiting for the first super chat. Actually, no, I think we got one super chat last week. I apologize. But that's just another way support the cost of getting the stuff done. Those just for the people that asked how they could support the podcast and things like that. But if there's no other questions, guys, I'm just gonna scroll through the chat here, make sure I did not miss anything. And I really enjoyed telling this story, and I hope that I can maybe stir up some questions for you if you're going to do this. It really is, for the 12 people that are here listening and for anybody that listens after this. And I might get emotional when I say this. It's a once in a lifetime opportunity. Like you have to do it. You have to do it. I'll never do it again, but Derek, I got one, buddy. Published. But yeah, no, you have to do it. You have to do it. You have to do it. I don't know when you have to or how you have to. I will be forever changed. And you'll see in the video that I'm going to release whenever I get it edited, hopefully this week sometime, I am forever changed for the better. For the better, for the better, for the better, for the better. Oh man, yeah, it is going to rain this whole week. A running book. Nah. I'm just a freaking, what the hell do I know? What the hell do I know? I know nothing. This week I got 70 miles on the calendar. I'm going to smash that. If anybody's in the Northeast and want to run, I got two more long runs left, guys. I'm still emotional thinking about this. I got 2 more long runs left. 2. And then I'm a 100-mile finisher. Man. And a year and a half ago, I was 250 pounds drinking all day long. All day long. All night long. When my kids went to bed, when my wife went to bed, just, yeah. Yeah. Get out there and do it. I hope this paints a picture of like that. I'm 42 years old. Just get out there and do it. Way outside my comfort zone. I'm just a city guy. Like, just go out there and do it, man. All right? I'm going to lose it. I got to go.